Greetings, YouTube. You know, it would be nice if I could go just one day, 24 hours, without encountering something somewhere in the news that is a shining example of ignorance and bigotry. Here's today's. Apparently a high school student, one Ceara Sturgis, wanted to have her senior picture taken in a tuxedo. The photographer took the picture. The school refused to put the picture in the yearbook, saying because she was a woman, a female, she could not have a picture in a tuxedo. And it gets worse than that, because that right there would be bad enough and would get you sued. But when the yearbook came out, Sturgis found out that not only was her picture not in the yearbook, but she herself had been completely excluded from the yearbook, as though she had never existed. Even though in this particular school system, and it's called the Wesson Attendance Center in Jackson, Mississippi, and apparently it's a comprehensive school, K through 12, all in one kind of a place. Well, she'd been there for the entire time. So even though she'd attended this school for the entire run, because she decided that she would have wanted to wear the clothing that made her happiest, that she felt most comfortable in, she was excluded completely from the yearbook. Now, this is a violation of both Title IX and the 14th Amendment. Title IX prohibits discrimination based on sex and sex stereotypes. Title IX is the statute which is used to make sure that, for example, boys and girls in high school or any level of school have access to the same types of sports, even if they aren't exactly the same, like baseball and baseball or football and football, but at least they have equal access to sports, like a women maybe having one kind of sporting team and the boys may have another kind of sporting team. But they must have access to the same opportunities regardless of their gender. So this particular school has violated both Title IX, which is a big no-no, because that can affect your funding, and the 14th Amendment. So they were able to violate two federal statutes all at once. Not surprisingly, the student, her mother, and the ACLU is going to sue the school. In fact, the article I shall be linking has a link to the actual PDF if you'd like to look at the complaint in full. It's in legalese. I looked at it, and I have a hard time figuring those things out. But maybe you like that kind of thing. But this is just another example. I mean, I did a video not that long ago dealing with boys in dresses, and now we have a girl being discriminated against because she chose to wear a tuxedo. We really need to throw away the outmoded ways of looking at the world when it comes to what we decide as a society is and is not proper attire for people based on their sex, gender, and orientation. This is pointless. I mean, I personally would wear a kilt. I just can't afford to wear the kilt I want. I want one of those really high-end kilts, and it's got really groovy pockets and stuff, and it's designed for like construction workers and things. But they're really expensive. They're like $125, and I can't afford that for a piece of clothing. I will spend that much money on boots, and that's about it. I won't spend that much money on anything else for clothing. But why do we keep trying to shoehorn people into modes of dress that they themselves don't want? What's the purpose? What do we gain? Why do we have to keep trying to fit people into different pigeonholes that they themselves don't want to be in? It makes no sense to me. If someone wants to wear a dress, let them wear a dress. If someone wants to wear a tuxedo, let them wear a tuxedo. It doesn't matter what gender they are. It doesn't matter what gender they present. It doesn't matter to anyone. It never has, and it never will. Unless, of course, you make a big deal about it. And if you make a big deal about what another person is wearing, I am of the opinion that the issue at hand is you, not the person wearing that attire. Now, I used to be a very active member in the Society for Creative Anachronism. I've done a video about this. The SCA is a historical reenactment group, and they cover the time periods from about 400 to 1400. That's basically the rough time period. Some people go 6 to 1600. It depends, which group you're dealing with. And so if you're covering 6 to 1600, that's 1,000 years. You're going to have a lot of different people wearing all kinds of different kinds of garb. I myself used to wear the garb of a 14th century Welshman, or approximations of that. A lot of what I wore was what we be considered pretty much generic Middle Ages type clothing. And I would wear these things to and from the event. And that would mean I'd be walking around in the streets in garb almost every weekend. I was doing demonstrations in public on a regular basis for schools, Boy Scout groups, civic groups, things like that, archery groups, things like that. And I would be in garb, and I would think nothing of it. It wouldn't bother me in the least. It didn't hurt that I was always armed as well, but I would get strange looks, and I accepted that. I was not dressed like the people around me. But if you're wearing a dress, a skirt, cargo pants, or a tux, those are all completely acceptable forms of clothing in American society. You see them every day. Well, maybe not the tux, but you do see people in suits every day. And the fact that the person wearing the suit is or is not of the gender that you think they should be has nothing to do with the person in that clothing. It has a whole lot to do with you. And if you have a problem with it, ask yourself why you have a problem with it. Then ask yourself, are you the arbiter of everyone else in the world around you? Because guess what, folks? You aren't. You get to control what you wear. You don't get to control what anybody else wears. So, I hope the ACLU takes this school to the cleaners. I hope, in fact, they get enough money that this particular student can pay for all of her college education on their dime, because they broke 2 different statutes, they were bigots, and they deserve every single thing they get.